Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the last video in my How I Revised series. So today I'm going to be talking about how I revised my GCSE Geography exams. And yes, before we start, I have had my hair cut. You will know this already if you follow my Instagram, but I got at least half of it cut off. Just fancied a change really. Hopefully I should be getting it dyed soon as well, which should be very exciting. Nothing crazy or whatever, just bit of a change really. Anyway, you are not here to hear about my hair, so let's get into how I revised for geography. So before we start, a little bit of a disclaimer and a little bit of background. Firstly, the disclaimer. As I've said in my other videos, I was on the old specification, the A star to G specification, so my exam style may be different to your exam style, but the revision methods can still apply. You've just got to adapt them yourself really. Now for the background, I got an A star in geography. I actually got 4 marks. It was my best exam, which was very surprising because it was never really my best subject or anything, but there we go. So the main way in which I revised for geography was I made condensed notes. And when I say condensed notes, I mean I basically wrote out the revision guide. I don't recommend this, but obviously this video is how I revised, and that is how I revised. It wasn't a very efficient method. It took me ages and ages and ages to do, but I mean, I learned the information, but it's just not a good way to go about learning it. I would much more recommend you making condensed notes, so you take what is important from the page of information in your revision guide, on an online website, etc., and just take the bits that are important and learn those, condense it down, etc. If you do want to see how I made notes and how I made my condensed notes, then I do have a video on that on my channel, so I will link that somewhere up there. But one thing that is really good to do is make a memory mind map after each set of topic notes. So what I would do is I would write out all my notes on a certain topic from the revision guide, and then afterwards I would put that topic title in a mind map, and without looking at my notes and without looking at the revision guide or anything, I would write down everything that I could remember, sort of in like a really simplified form, onto a mind map. And then after I'd sort of put everything that I could remember down on the page, I would then check back to my notes, I would then check back to the revision guide and make sure that I had put everything down, and I would add on any details that I'd missed, any things that I'd sort of got confused or wrote down wrong, etc. And this is a really good thing to do, because it's one thing writing down loads of notes, but you've got to make sure that you are actually remembering them all, so this is a really good way to do that. This is also a really good way to remember examples of certain things, and a really good way to remember sort of statistics, any figures that you need to learn, etc. And this mind map does not have to be artistic in any way. Mine was normally just a scribble on a page somewhere. So for case studies, I know that you still need to learn case studies for the new specification, and I have a bit of a painful background with case studies. Basically, I learnt so many case studies for my GCSE exams. So many. I spent hours learning every single detail of every single case study, and then I get to the exam, and what do I have? No, I don't have any big marker case study questions. All I have is a 4 marker on tsunamis. I spent hours and hours doing things for a 4 marker on tsunamis. But that is not to say that case studies are not going to come up in your exam. They come up in every single exam regardless of the format, so it is worth learning a lot of them and learning them well. So the way in which I did this is I had what I call my super notes. And what I would do is I would take information from the revision guide, I would take information that I researched online. Basically, I would take all the resources that I had on a certain case study and compile them into one massive Word document. And I would do this for every single case study. It is worth knowing and checking with your teacher what case studies you need to learn before you do this, so you can get it exactly right and you're not researching things that you don't need to know. And then what I did with my super notes is I made Quizlet flashcards out of them. So say it was the cause of a tsunami, for example, I would then make a flashcard on the cause. Then I would make a flashcard on the effects, then I would make a flashcard on the responses, etc. I know that you also need to learn examples of things, which are just examples of a certain like event, or so these aren't as detailed as case studies, but a really good way to do that is just flashcards. Again, you could have a flashcard on like examples of a hurricane. I don't know, these are all examples, by the way, you might not need to learn these, but examples of a hurricane, and then on the back you could just have hurricane in da-da-da in date whatever. Just some like really simple flashcards for examples, because if you do have an example, then it does make your answer seem a lot more sophisticated, makes you seem like you know what's going on. You could also then make mind maps of your case studies, and this is something that I did. So I would have the sort of case study title in the middle, and then I would have a leg going off that had causes, a leg that had effects, a leg that had responses, etc, etc. So that is also a really good way to set out the information and make sure that you are remembering it all. Lastly, as I say in every single How I Revised video, a really important thing to do to secure top marks in your exam is practice, practice, practice. Do as many past paper questions as you possibly can. Do exam style questions, anything that is going to help you with the actual exam. This is especially important for geography because, as you may know already, there is a lot of command words in the titles, and more so than most other subjects. So for example, it could be a question that's like, discuss this case study, etc. And you've got to make sure that you know what those command words mean, otherwise it is going to be quite difficult to get the marks for that question. And obviously a really good way to get your head around what those command words are asking you to do is to practice the questions. And as usual, make sure that you are marking them or asking your teacher to mark them, because feedback is vital, because you're not going to know if you're answering the question right if you haven't marked it. And then from that feedback you can then work on it. So for example, if you particularly struggle on sort of discuss questions, then do more questions that have that command word in, and do more questions that ask you to do that. So yeah, that is pretty much how I revised GCSE geography. I made notes, I made mind maps, and then I made flashcards for the case studies and the examples, and then obviously I did lots and lots of practice questions. And I forgot to mention actually, but you can also get CGP workbooks, which are super useful. I will link them down below in the description. And I had these, and basically it's a booklet of exam style questions, and it was really useful, and you can buy the mark scheme as well, so you can mark them, and that is a good way to practice exam questions on your own. Finally, I would just like to give a little shout out, and this is to check out a website called geographycat.co.uk, and this is a website that my geography teacher actually created, and she writes really good articles on there. I will link that down below in the description, and you should definitely go check that out. It is a great resource that you should definitely go have a look at. So yeah, that was pretty much how I revised GCSE geography. I hope that you find this useful, and as usual, if you have any revision methods that you find work better or work better for the new specification, then please do comment them down below in the comments, because obviously everyone does not revise in the same way, and something that works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. But yeah, as usual, make sure to like, subscribe and follow my social media, which will be linked down below in the description. Bye guys!